Hi everyone, this is just an update on the current state of the track speed development sprint squad. This is the second update of GPP2. So what we're going to be going through throughout this week is just looking at the weekly layout. What does Monday through Sunday look like for our guys? Then we're going to be looking at some of the subtopics here of acceleration development, speed development. I'm going to give an insight into what the 400 meter athletes are doing as well, which is something which wasn't touched in the GPP1 presentation. Just a quick little summary of the strength and conditioning. What are some of the things which were learned throughout the last 3 weeks, and then what do we have to look forward to in the future? This content is a little bit different to the last one, and this is, in the sense that we're missing some things, such as, I guess, sort of plyometrics. What else? Yeah, really just plyometrics are missing out of this, but even as I discuss some of the speed development stuff, a lot of things in this 3-week block are very similar to the previous. So things such as a warm-up, plyometrics, and speed development for the short sprinters, those sessions are the exact same as the last 3-week block. So I'm not going to repeat myself with what we're doing. And that's why they're left out of this presentation. So Monday through Saturday, sort of when we're training. So Monday for the short sprinters has remained the same. There's an acceleration day, and we've stretched that from 20 meter efforts all the way up to 30 meter efforts. Huge jump. And the aerobic development day is on the Monday for the 400 meter athletes. And they're just pretty much doing close to just 1 minute on, 1 minute off. So it's like 20-second, 100 meter pace. It's not intense whatsoever. It is purely aerobic. Plus they're getting a bit of running volume, which I think is necessary for 400 meter athletes. You sort of do have to hit a minimum amount of running, I think. And I think it's just a healthy thing to do. Both of them do power development in the gym, and the S&C looks very similar this 3 weeks compared to last. On the Wednesday, we do an ab circuit, similar to the one which is playing right now. And as we did in the previous block, we do just a multi-jump circuit, horizontal jumps. Speed development for the short sprinters, the sprint float sprint, but the speed development for the 400 meter athletes is a little bit more intense in nature. They're wearing their sprint spikes. They're just going hell for leather over 50 meters. And the reason for this is because the Monday just isn't that intense from a speed standpoint, as opposed to the Monday being quite an intense day for the short sprinters, getting up to 30 meters, which is going to be close to 95% of maximum velocity. On the Thursday, after the speed day, they get into the gym, and the S&C is the exact same, where they're just going, trying to push more high force sort of lifts, which are your squats, your deadlifts, and also using that as an opportunity to hit hamstrings and calves, because the Monday and Tuesday, I guess, presents the most potent stimulus for those muscle groups. And just sort of want to separate those, get enough opportunity to hit the hamstrings in the gym, get them stronger, maybe increase muscle size in those particular areas, and then give them enough time to recover before another high velocity exposure, which would be the following Monday or the following Wednesday. On the Saturday, we hit the hills. We, same as the Wednesday, do some abs, do some jumps. But the Saturday has changed slightly for the short sprinters to include some longer hills, and for the 400 meter athletes, they do 3 sets of 3 100 meter hills, and they get pretty lightheaded from that. So the priority is still for the short sprinters acceleration development. The session as it's written is like 3 to 4 sets of 10, 20, 30 meters. And even if that sort of looks like on paper, in reality, it did kind of look a bit different in person. We maybe did 3 sets of 10, 20, 30. All of those 3 sets were in flats. We may have had one or two of those sets done from a standing position, maybe 1 or 2 of those from a 3-point or a crouch start position, and then maybe just to start trickling in some use of the spikes. Maybe we did 2 sets of 10 and 1 set of 20 in spikes as the final set, or something along those lines. On the final, week of the block, we did some testing where we were just going 100% over 30 meters from a crouch position in spikes. We got the speed gates out and did a 10 to 30 meter fly. This is going to be our acceleration test, and we're not really using this metric because it's a good metric. Like, I think it's okay. I don't think it's perfect because I think there's so much value in monitoring what's going on in those first 10 meters, but at least it's very consistent. And I also think it's really easy to understand for our athletes because they're familiar with that 20-meter fly interval, which we use for our upright running. So we did that in the final block. I'm really happy with how everyone's tracking. For reference, my 10 to 30 was 225, and that's just what it is for now. I think that would be about a 10.9 to 11 flat sort of performance, which I'm totally okay with this time of the year. On the Saturday, we're going to the hills, and before it was 12 to 15 30-meter hills. It was really Dan Pfaff sort of styled session, which I loved. But as I started to think further into the future, I was sort of coming to this roadblock about how to fit the program that I want into 3 days worth of running, because that's sort of what we're presented with logistics, and it's what I think is appropriate for the athletes who I work with, is to just have the 3 days of running. And I think a good heuristic for most sprint programs is to have 2 acceleration days. I think like there's too many examples of that being a good foundation for a good sprinting program. I think it's just the sort of physical changes that you can make through regular sprint exposures is fantastic. But at the same time, if you need to develop your maximal velocity, you need to develop some kind of endurance capacity as well. And if we're going to be doing acceleration twice a week, we need to develop endurance and speed. How can we fit sort of like 4 sessions into 3? And the only way that this can be done is doing some sort of hybrid day. And I think that's what our Saturday is going to be having to look like in the future. So to try and set up this this sort of program, this kind of this the standard with what we want to go with in the future. We just have a combination of some shorter hills and a combination of some longer hills. What I imagine the sort of first SPP block to look like is maybe 6, maybe maxing out at 8 accelerations out of blocks unresisted, and then some long runs afterwards. And I'm thinking of just doing some intensive tempo running after the short accels. So it might be like 320s, 330s, and then 3, maybe 4 200s at 80% 200 meter pace, something like that. And over time, maybe reduce the accels and reduce the distance run, but increase the intensity of those longer runs. That's sort of where my head's going with that at the moment. The speed in the 400 meter program. So the speed program for the short sprinters is pretty much the same as last time, so you can go back and reference that. But I've included all of the sessions here for the 400 meter guys. So on the first day, that's sort of what that one-to-one aerobic sort of development is on the Monday with the 800 and then the 300s. The Wednesday is the series of straight-legged bounds, dribbles, and all-out sprints. And then the Saturday is that hill session, sort of just doing the repeat 100 meters. It was a really good sort of block for the 400 meter athletes on the 6th. So the 6th week, the final week of this second GPP block, we got speed gates out, and the 400 meter guys went through them 100% effort. For the men, we do 60 meters and measure the 40 to 60 meter distance, and for the women, we're going to do 50 meters and measure 30 to 50. And all of them PB'd the maximal velocity. So we're doing something well at the moment. The general health of them is really good. They're sort of handling the long runs. They're handling the more lactic type work on the Saturday. So I'm pleased with how generally the 400 meter athletes are tracking as well. We've got a leaf blower going on in the background, so I hope that's not heard. But strength and conditioning, the literally the exact same program is being rerun for GPP2 as GPP1. First week of lifts is 3 sets of 5. The second week is 4 sets of 3, and the third week is 5 sets of 2. On the last week of GPP2, we did work up to a top set of 2, which is really cool. I just wanted to see where they're at, and I was just in the gym with Denise and Matt on this day, and just the vibes were high, and it was really cool. Matt did 235 for a double on his trap bar dead. Denise did 110 for a double. Both of them PBs, and last year it was just a huge thing for Denise to even squat 100. For Matt, I think he got up to maybe 210 or 220 last year, and he's trap bar dead, and he's 8 kilos lighter this year than last year. So he's made awesome progress, and these sort of like general force producing capabilities. This is one of the good things about gym work. If you're an athlete who doesn't really have that inbuilt software or hardware to produce high amounts of force, um, the gym is just a great environment to develop that skill set. So, guess what are some of the lessons learned and over the last couple of weeks? They're probably not as much as the first few weeks. And maybe that's just because the first few weeks, the eyes just begin to readjust and the cogs start turning, and it's just you have that excitement coming off a short break. But I think as you go through the general preparatory phases, it's a good reminder of just how powerful the general is, and so seeing PBs in acceleration, seeing PBs in speed for the 400-meter athletes. I don't think that there's any coincidence with that, with just the general competencies of the athletes improving, whether it's just coordination that's challenged through the drilling, just the general strength developed in the gym and through abdominal work and skipping and bounding and jumping and all that. So whenever I think an athlete hits a plateau, it's always worthwhile to go back to that cliche of mastering the basics and developing general skill and general physical qualities as well. Second sort of takeaway is that just how much athletes thrive off predictability. And this is what the sort of general phases of preparation in off season are really great. They know exactly what the session's going to be for 3 weeks. Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, they know exactly what we're trying to accomplish, and they're able to scale that up and improve every single time. The hard shift, I guess, is as we get into the competitive season, things become chaotic, things become a little bit more reactive in nature. Now that I've kind of got a good idea about how I want the sessions to be run over the, pretty much the whole off season, I'd almost be able to tell them, session for session all the way up until October. And that's great and all, but at some stage they need to become flexibly minded. And so this is something which, as we get into the SPP phases, something that I might play around with, and that's kind of just fucking with them constructively. If we're going to a competition championship event where we need to go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I don't know if doing a Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday split with really like spread out density of high intensity is what's going to prepare them well for that. So I'm looking forward to moments of the year where we go, say like Wednesday, Thursday, high, we go speed into maybe speed endurance Wednesday, Thursday, and then give them the weekend off, that sort of thing. And just to try and condition them to flexibility, and also to psychologically be able to know that you can handle a couple of days of high intensity work in a row, because that's really what we're training for, and that's what we're trying to prepare for. As far as the technical side of things go, something which I've been chatting with Chris Dale a little about, I just asked him, hey, roast my starting position, roast my first couple of steps. And something that he brought up in reference to the way I run in those first few steps is just looking at the extension mechanics of the back, in particular. So something which I'm trying to set my athletes up for a little bit better is just to try to keep it in the legs, is what I'm telling them. If you're seeing really large trunk and torso angle changes from set position in step 1 into step 2, just how much propulsion are you driving through like the erectors and through the overextension of the lumbar region. So, and this is something which I communicated in particular to guys like Lorenzo and Denise, who really sort of pull the reins back in those first few steps and look for really big extension patterns. So that's something which I'm thinking about. How can I set my athletes up into better positions? How can I put myself in a better position? There's also a part of me which thinks that this is exacerbated currently just through the sheer volume of strength work that we're doing, and everyone's a little bit jacked up from kind of going hard in the gym. And maybe this resolves itself and become a little bit more supple, a little bit more coordinated as we move out of the general strength phase and just do more high power sort of work in the gym. So what are we looking forward to next? We've got one more 3-week block of the real general stuff. And for me, general means like we're just not really tickling the high max velocity, higher speed endurance in the blocks, competitive, blah, blah, blah. It's got to be very general in nature. We're getting stronger, getting fitter, becoming more coordinated. We're sort of understanding and developing acceleration and power, because I sort of see them as the same thing. So we're going to continue to become beasts in acceleration, strength, and power. The S&C will shift. So I think 3 sets of 4, 4 sets of 3, 3 sets of 5, 5 sets of 2. Like it's really high volume of high intense work in the gym. And so I really like that for a certain period of time, just doing straight sets. But we'll be looking to, I guess, intensify it as opposed to just accumulating all of these reps. And we'll be doing that by just having top sets with 2 back down sets. So it'll be like top set of 3, top set of 2, top set of 1, with maybe 2 sets at 80% following. I do anticipate that they'll start to get really tired over these couple of weeks. Might be wrong. I just think like 9 weeks straight is really it's full on, and I think after the GPP phase might look at doing a bit of a down week where we give them a weekend off or something like that. And in this phase, sort of the third GPP block, there are some components of SPP that I want to start blending in. So whether it is altering some of the accessory exercises, changing some of the warm-up sort of structures, in the speed development stuff, I've be taking away the sprint float sprint stuff, and I've got a different drill to implement, which will be used in conjunction with just straight out sprints for the SPP. So I think when it comes to trying to bridge general and specific preparatory phases, I don't really want to dump just so much new stimulus on, not just from like an intensity standpoint. It's not just going from really broad to really specific. There's also like the psychological thing where you're trying to learn all these new, I don't know, strength circuits or jump circuits or new drills or new concepts and new exercises in the gym, all these sorts of things. And if there's too stark of a change, I don't really know how well those first couple of weeks of a new program are going to go. So there's just a couple of things which I've taken out. For example, we're not going to be doing like big, heavy reverse lunges in the specific phase. We're going to be starting to do some step ups. So we'll continue with the power cleans. We'll continue with the dumbbell jumps and some of the accessories that we've got on that Monday gym session, but instead we're flipping the lunge into a step up. And that's just one less thing that they have to consider as a new stimulus for the next phase. And finally, just the variety for the sake of variety. We're going to be weeks 7 through 9 in the next phase. The variety, for me, I like having variable warm-ups. It's part of why I like the multi-jump circuits. It's part of why I like the ab circuits. It's a good environment to present novelty. I don't really want variety in the things which create large changes. I don't really want variety in my speed work or acceleration and stuff like that. They just have to be done. And if you try and find new ways to invent the wheel with those sort of methods, I don't really think it ever goes well. So those are the things which are going to be mainstays. The tough, hard work needs to be consistent and executed well. The variety will be found in, as I said, the warm-up will change a little bit. The multi-jump stuff will change, and some of those things, especially if I think they're at the start of a session, it makes the stuff towards the end of the session feel novel as well, because it sort of brings in a new level of excitement. So that's it. I've kept it under 20 minutes. That's what GPP2 looks like. I was really happy with it. The only struggle which I'm going to have over the coming weeks is we've just got athletes who'll be going in and out of holidays. So we've got a bunch of athletes going to Europe for this next block, and we've also got some athletes who are returning. And this is just the nature of coaching. People, Aussies in their 20s who aren't full-time paid athletes, and that's totally fine. So even if I'm trying to run a program which is as optimal as possible, on top of the lessons learned and things that I'm thinking about is really just going to be about doing a good job of ensuring that people are safely coming back into the program, and ensuring that people also leaving the program, going to holidays, healthy and ready to enjoy themselves overseas. So looking forward to it, and I'll see you in a few weeks' time.